In the world of organized crime, power was everything. But fear was even more valuable. Few men understood that better than Albert Anastasia. He rose from poverty to become one of the most feared men in America. His name inspired respect. His reputation inspired fear, and for years it seemed as if nobody could challenge him. Yet, despite all his power, his story would end in a way that shocked the entire criminal underworld. This is the story of Albert Anastasia, the man many called the Lord High Executioner. Before New York knew his name, Albert Anastasia was just another young immigrant. Born in Italy during the early 1900s, life offered few opportunities. Like many families at the time, the dream of America promised something better: a fresh start, more opportunity, a chance to build a future. When Anastasia arrived in the United States, he entered a world that was both exciting and unforgiving. Immigrant neighborhoods were crowded, jobs were scarce, competition was everywhere. Survival required determination, and sometimes much more. As a young man, Anastasia quickly learned that the streets rewarded strength. Respect wasn't given, it was earned. New York was changing rapidly. Immigrant communities were growing, businesses were expanding, money was flowing through the city, and wherever money flowed, power followed. Anastasia spent years learning how the city worked. He understood that influence wasn't just about fighting, it was about relationships, connections, and reputation. Slowly, he built all three. People noticed his confidence, his willingness to take risks, and his ability to command respect. As his influence expanded, opportunities followed. The criminal underworld offered power that many legal careers could never provide, and Anastasia embraced it. In organized crime, reputation can be more important than money. A powerful reputation creates fear. Fear creates influence, and influence creates opportunity. Anastasia's reputation grew rapidly. Stories circulated throughout New York. Some described him as fearless. Others described him as ruthless. Whatever the truth may have been, one thing became clear. People took him seriously. Very seriously. His name carried weight. And in the underworld, weight meant power. As the years passed, Anastasia moved higher through the ranks. He built alliances with influential figures, expanded his network, and increased his control over various operations. Unlike many criminals who sought public attention, Anastasia focused on strengthening his position. The strategy worked. His influence continued growing, and eventually he became one of the most powerful figures in organized crime. At this point, few people would have predicted his downfall. He appeared untouchable, protected by power, protected by reputation, protected by fear. But appearances can be deceiving. Power changes people. It changes relationships. It changes loyalties. And it changes expectations. As Anastasia's position grew stronger, pressure increased. Powerful people surrounded him. Some were loyal. Others simply saw opportunity. The higher he climbed, the fewer people he could truly trust. This is a problem that affects many leaders. Inside organized crime, it can be deadly. Enemies don't always announce themselves. Sometimes they smile. Sometimes they shake your hand. And sometimes they're standing right beside you. Over time, tensions began to emerge. Different groups wanted different things. Alliances shifted. Disagreements grew. Rumors spread. People started questioning leadership. Powerful figures began calculating their own futures. The atmosphere became increasingly uncertain. While Anastasia remained powerful, the foundation beneath him was becoming unstable, and instability creates opportunity for rivals. History has shown that many powerful leaders fall not because of outsiders, but because of insiders. As pressure increased, Anastasia faced challenges from multiple directions. Competition intensified. Relationships became strained. Trust became more difficult. The criminal world he helped navigate for years was changing, and change often creates danger. The problem with power is that everyone wants it. The problem with fear is that eventually people stop being afraid. When that happens, even the strongest leaders become vulnerable. The warning signs were there, but powerful people rarely believe their own downfall is approaching. After years of success, influence, and authority, Anastasia still appeared secure. Yet behind the scenes, events were unfolding. People were making decisions.
Plans were developing, And the future was changing. The man who had spent years building an empire was approaching his final chapter. He just didn't know it yet. Then came the moment that would define his legacy forever, one of the most famous moments in organized crime history. The criminal underworld was stunned. News spread quickly. Powerful figures watched carefully. Because if someone as influential as Albert Anastasia could fall, anyone could. His downfall became a reminder that power has limits, fear has limits, even influence has limits. Years passed, decades passed, but Albert Anastasia's name survived. Historians studied him, authors wrote about him, documentaries revisited his story, because his life represented something larger than organized crime. It represented ambition, power, fear, and the dangers that come with all three. Today, he remains one of the most recognizable figures in Mafia history. Not just because of how he lived, but because of how his story ended. Albert Anastasia spent years building power in one of the toughest environments imaginable. He rose from poverty, built influence, earned fear, and became one of the most powerful men in America. Yet in the end, his story proved a lesson, repeated throughout history. No matter how powerful you become, power never lasts forever. Was Albert Anastasia's downfall caused by enemies? Or was it the inevitable cost of becoming too powerful? Comment below. Subscribe for more organized crime stories.